Well, good morning. Do a little catching up here, a little business first. I have a friend who lives in Florida. He's got an interesting little problem. He's got an oscilloscope and a signal generator, and he doesn't know whether either one of them works. I assume he's trying to hook the signal generator up to the oscilloscope and see a waveform. And so, one of the first things you got to do, besides getting in the way of the camera, is ask yourself, okay, so I got some test equipment here and I don't know anything about it. It's kind of a chicken and egg. The assumption is that the stuff works, but when you get to fiddling with it, you don't get the results you expect. So, are your expectations unfounded, or is the equipment broke? Well, that's a good damn question. So let's see what we can do about maybe figuring out what his problem might be. My suggestion is you sit down, simmer down, and read the books. And look very carefully at the specifications. I assume that the signal generator he's got, I believe he said it was a B&K, and it's just a kind of a general purpose shop type signal generator. It's RF based. I don't remember what oscilloscope he said he had. One of the things you need to do is sit down and look at the book and see what the bandwidth of the scope is. And what that'll tell you is if the oscilloscope is even remotely capable of seeing the RF. The other thing that could be happening is the scope may not be sensitive enough to look at your RF generator, or your RF generator might not have enough oomph to it to really put out a huge signal. A shop type of RF generator isn't going to put out 3 or 4 volts of RF. There's no need for it. You don't need anything like that. And this is a Sencor, an SG 165. It's an audio stereo. They call it an analyzer. All it is a lot of tools in a box, and it doesn't have a lot of oomph to it. So one of the things I'm going to do here is just turn on my oscilloscope, and we're kind of in the assumption that you know what's going on, but maybe you don't. Well, here you can see right away that that the scope was working until I touched the probe, and the signal generator is working. Now this Tektronix here, this is a 7704A mainframe, and it can be limited by the plugins. It's more than possible that he has a basic oscilloscope and nothing so fancy. But here you can see I've went from the AM broadcast range to the FM broadcast range, and the waveform is decreased quite a bit. It's there, but it's barely triggering. Now, that could be a couple different things. More than likely, it's the bandwidth of my scope isn't capable of seeing RF that high. Here, let the good times roll. The other thing that could be happening is you could be not operating the equipment correctly. You could have the generator could be turned down. You don't know it. You could have a bad probe. You don't know it. You could, like these probes are actually times 10 probes. So here it's straight through. Here it's times 10 on the AM band. There's a significant difference. There could be a lot of things. Probably the easiest thing to do is to see if your signal generator is working. You don't know if your oscilloscope is working. Is if you have just a shortwave radio. I happen to have one. That's a big damn surprise. And just tune it to that band and see what you get. This generator only covers the broadcast band and FM. So we'll just tune up something in the old. So here you can. This one happens to have a BFO on it, which we're going to turn on. And it actually works on the broadcast band, and it's very bad at standing up. So I'm just going to sweep the broadcast band with the generator and see if we can hear the thing. And we don't. Oh, that sucks. What has happened here is actually I lent the generator to some friends and it got broke. I don't know whether they broke it or what. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It got broke. Well, I had to take the thing apart, and when I put it back together, I neglected to hook up the tuning mech. It looks like it works, but there's a shaft in there. Well, we could try and figure out where that's at. I might be doing it the hard way. So let's see if we can hear this thing.
But I don't know how long Contra was going to be out.
Make an educated guess about where it might be. Okay, so it's right there. So that kind of proves that the RF generator at least has some sort of RF coming out of it. You don't know exactly what the level is, but you've used a tool to find out what's going on there. You know, how do you fix a tool if the tools are broken? You know, or how do you solder a connection on your soldering iron that is broke on your own soldering iron? Well, you need another one. There are a lot of ways to verify this stuff. You know, if you have a freak counter, more than likely you could hook that up, at least to the generator to get going. Maybe you've got a friend, you can have him come over or her come over and offer them a nice lunch to come over and help you. You know, you could send it away. On the oscilloscope part, you know, I always use what I call the thumb test, just to get a rough idea. You know, I get the sweep going and get up and running, and then turn the sensitivity way down. And I just plunk my thumb on there. Now, actually, what you're seeing there, this is a demodulator probe, and what you're seeing there is a pretty local AM broadcast station. That's actually the audio that's demodulated, but it lets you know that the thing is working, and lets you know your probe is working if we take the demodulator probe away and try just the AM, or just the AM, just the basic probe. You know, you can see that there's some sort of a sine wave there. Actually, you can kind of see the RF, since this is in the broadcast band, you can actually see it kind of modulating it. The other thing you could do is, you know, the scope, usually your oscilloscope has a built-in calibrator. And you can use the calibrator to see what's going on. Now, it is entirely possible that the lower end of your plug-in or your front end is damaged, or it's not that sensitive. More than likely what is happening is he's trying to use the signal generator beyond the bandwidth of the scope, is what I believe is going on. he says he starts tuning it and it starts drifting away, or it starts getting thinner and thinner and thinner. That kind of sounds like that the scope is working just fine. I would use the radio. You know, he more than likely has a shortwave radio, I believe, or a couple, or could get a hold of one. Oscilloscopes don't see everything. So there you go. There's some quick ways to kind of test the test equipment. Like I said, you could have a friend, you know, take your stuff over to a friend's house. There's a number of other little things you could do too. On the generator, you could build a detector probe, which is easy enough to do. You know, this is basically a factory detector probe. All this really is a bottle, a little bottle, a couple leads, you know, cable, and there's a small signal diode in there, like a 1N, what is that, 34, any of the germanium diodes. You could probably harvest one out of an old crummy broke radio or something. An old TV would have one. And you can find the detector probe schematic on the internet, or I think the last time I built one, I just got the service manual for my signal generator, and it has a detector probe schematic in it. So that's the Sencor SG165. If you look in the schematic part of there, it shows a probe. It's like 4 or 5 moving parts. You could build that up on perf board. Actually, I think I've still got that here. What did I do with that? Oh, you have to excuse me. Actually, our shop is in quite a state. We moved a bunch of stuff the other day. And it's here somewhere. I don't know. It's running around here. I built a detector probe on just a little chunk of perf board. You can buy the perf board up at Radio Shack. You can get that stuff online, or from our friends at Fleabay. Just that little perf board, and there's literally about 4 moving parts. There's the diode, a couple resistors, and a cap or 2. I can't find one. Oh, there's sweep generator. There it is. Oh, there we go. Now you have to promise not to laugh, because if you do, I won't show you this stuff ever again. Anyway, I just yeah, I told you not to laugh, and then I laughed. Anyway, I literally just prototyped this, just quick and dirty. There's, you know, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 parts on there, and I just put it on that board. And I was going to cut it out, and I thought, you know, it's really a shame to chop up that huge board when I've got these little ones at home. You can get these off Fleabay for, you can get like 20 of them for, you know, $5. They come from China, so plan ahead. And this literally has like a .01, a signal diode, 3 resistors, and a like a little silver mica cap. And all I did was I just made it so I could hook the probe. I just made it so I could hook the probe from the oscilloscope up there. There's a couple of these online, you know, you can find. I think they're even on how to build them on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Now, be a little, I don't know if I want to use the word careful, but make sure you know what you're building. Some of these are peak-to-peak detector probes, and some of these are just demodulator probes, because there's a couple of different ones. This is technically a demodulator probe. You could use this with your voltmeter too. So you could hook that up to your voltmeter. I mean, I think everybody's got a voltmeter, at least a basic one. And you could use your voltmeter. Another thing my friend could do, and I know this for a fact, is he has a Hewlett-Packard 410B. He could get off his rump and make sure that works, since he's never going to ship that to me, even though he owes me big. That's just a joke. And he could use that. That would detect RF. He could use that And that actually would be a pretty good way to see what RF is coming out of the generator. Well, we could do that here too, if you want to hang in there. Okie dokie. So this is the military version of the HP 410. I'm running out of sockets here. If you build a shop, you can never have too many outlets. And sorry about this. I'm in the way again. It's a big surprise. Hey, what do you want for free? Send me some money or some tools to use. Maybe my videos will get more spectacular. Anyway, this is just a basic vacuum tube voltmeter. This is me struggling to get it in frame. Okay. So we'll go to AC, let her warm up, and we'll turn the, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit here. We'll turn the, so we're on the AC volts, which RF is AC. And I'm going to turn it up. We're under the assumption that we don't know what the generator is capable of putting out. So we need a ground lead here, which is all tangled up. I'll point. And the detector probe. And actually the detector probe on these, there's actually a vacuum tube in here and a ground lead. So we'll short these out. And we'll zero up here. Maybe I can tip you back up here so you can see what's going on. Just adjust this to 0. This is, again, under the assumption that his test equipment is all working. I don't know whether his BTVM is working or not, but you could do this. So I'm going to start doing this. Just aren't going to cooperate here, are we? So there you can see there's a little sniff of a signal there. Like I said, this generator is not terribly powerful. And his generator may not be in the same boat. It's pretty microscopic actually. Some of these generators only put out in the millivolt or microvolt, and that's pretty low. That's beyond the scope of this meter, but you can get an idea that there's something there. So he could do that too. He's probably going to be a little disappointed in that. Actually, probably a better choice would be to go ahead and build the demodulator probe if you can't figure out what's going on. I would use the shortwave radio first. Shortwave radio is not just for I use it all the time as a test tool. I use it for listening to local oscillators and all sorts of fun stuff. So there you go. There's how to hopefully solve the chicken and egg test equipment problem. Hope you found something interesting, or at least one little tidbit of information out there. I know these things aren't terribly organized sometimes, and a lot of these are just off the cuff. I literally get an idea, gather up the tools, and just sit down and turn on the camera and start blabbing. Anyway, that's the way it is. Well, to quote a friend on YouTube from the east coast of not Arkansas, have a groovy day. Take her easy.